I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.
Welcome to Studio Sacramento. I'm your host, Scott Syfax. California feeds the world. We have the most abundant supply of crops and livestock in the country. The abundance and diversity of California farms have long been the envy of the world, except maybe in our own backyard. But two longtime Placer County residents are helping to change these attitudes. Joanne Neff led the creation of farmers markets in Placer County and is a leader in the farm-to-table movement. Joining us later on the program will be Laura Kenny, a classically trained chef and Joanne's co-author of the Placer County Real Food Cookbook. Joanne, welcome to Studio Sacramento.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Thanks.
I want to know, what turns you on so much about farmers markets?
Oh my. That's a difficult question, and it's an easy question. I was raised on a farm in Minnesota. I have always been involved in eating, because we all have been, and taking me to a farmer's market gets me a little bit closer to the ground. And I think that's why I'm excited about it. Plus, that's where I learn all about new foods that you don't see every day at a grocery store.
Well, let's go a little bit further on this. How did this love affair with the whole concept of farmers market get its start with you?
Ooh, that goes back a little ways.
Okay, well, let's go.
I was living in Naples, California, which is a little island right outside, or a part of Long Beach. And Long Beach had a farmer's market. It was adequate. It was nice. But every Saturday, I used to get in my car and drive 90 miles to Santa Barbara to go to their farmer's market. I would get there at 7 o'clock in the morning as everybody was unloading and putting their crops out and setting up their tables. I'd be wandering around the market just smelling it, because the fragrance of a market is unique. It's everything fresh, it's everything wholesome. And I would do that, and curiously enough, one of the other people who was at the market that early in the morning was Julia Child.
You're kidding.
We were both there. She was living in Montecito. This is years ago, Scott. She was living in Montecito, and we were both there early with our noses in the cabbage. It's all I can say. And we'd be right next to each other and say, glorying in what we were experiencing. I never did meet Julia, and Julia never knew who I was. But I'll tell you what, when I started to think about what is it I want to do in my life that will mean the most to me, that I can feel the most passion about, it must be farmers markets.
Wow. So from that moment down in Southern California, what brought you up to Placer County?
Well, I lived in Placer County. I've been a resident pretty much of Placer County since the late 60s. So, and I sat on the Planning Commission for several years in Placer County, and I appreciated what was here. And I appreciated the farmland. I mean, are you aware that in the first part of the 20th century, Newcastle, California was the fruit shipping capital of the world?
Really?
The world. So we have deep, deep roots in an agriculture heritage here in Placer County.
I'm not sure that that's well known.
Probably not. I happen to know it because I happen to own the old Newcastle Fruit Growers Association shed in Newcastle, which was built in 1920.
Wow. Now, in preserving assets like that, one of the things that you're also known for, in addition to your leadership on issues like food to table and the like and good eating is you're a bit of a conservationist. You've gotten an award as Conservator of the Year and really led the movement on trying to protect farmland. Share with us why that's so important.
Oh, it really concerns me that everything, and especially in California, all of the property that is so good for growing our food is being, instead of planting crops, we're planting houses. And I'm concerned about that because we should be eating out of our own food shed for several reasons. First of all, because it's fresher, because it's healthier. But secondly, it involves also food security. What happens if suddenly Central America decides, or South America decides they're not shipping us food?
Well, recently we had a show where we had on some other folks that were very much supportive of the whole food to table movement, and they gave us a startling statistic. They said that something that is grown in this region typically travels like 1,000 miles outside of the state to come back here. How does that happen?
Isn't that a good question? Do you realize that we have about $3 billion worth of crops every year that grows in our region? $3 billion.
Wow.
Do you realize that every year we ship out? No, the startling thing is we import $3 billion. We export $2.5 billion.
That's an amazing statistic.
I mean, what's wrong with that picture? It's like, you know, can't you just picture the trains in the night passing each other, or the trucks, the big 15-wheelers, 18-wheelers passing each other in the night, somebody carrying rice to Los Angeles and somebody else bringing in a different kind of grain.
Now, one of the things that I was fascinated by in learning about you is you've been able to actually essentially take care of all your food needs with not having to do like most of us and spend a lot of time in your local supermarket.
I never go to the grocery store.
You never go to the grocery store? Never?
Never. Well, yes, sometimes if I need some organic milk or organic butter, and I always eat organic dairy, so I do go to the grocery store for those things. But never fruits or vegetables, ever. Never. And many times not for grains, because at our farmers market, we have all that right there every week of every year.
Well, let's talk about that. Tell us how the farmers markets got started in Placer County.
That's a wonderful story. So when I was in Naples, I decided I wanted to start a farmers market. So on the following January, over the long Martin Luther King birthday weekend, I came to Placer County and started driving roads, looking for a place that I thought I was going to start a farmer's market. I had no idea how farmers markets started, Scott. None. And I happened to meet with a friend who was working for the county and said, "So Tom, what are you doing these days?" And he said, "The Board of Supervisors just decided they're starting a farmer's market in Placer County, and they've given me the responsibility of going through all the legal details to make it happen." I said, "I want that job."
Wow.
That it was serendipitous. I want that job. He said, "Well, you're going to have to go through the process just like everyone else." I said, "No problem. Let me know, and I'll be there."
Wow. So this takes place, and from what year was this when you started?
1989.
1989, okay. So today, how many markets, how many people interact with the market? Give us the story.
Well, first of all, I started, the first market was in Loomis.
Okay.
It was for 18 weeks, 18 Sundays we met in Loomis. And we probably had 600 people at every session. The next year I started a couple more markets, one at Lake Tahoe. I had lived at Tahoe. Those people really appreciate healthy food. And then we started one in Roseville, we started one in Rockland, and today we have 12 markets in Placer County operating. 3 of them are every week of the year.
Wow. I want to talk to you a little bit in a few minutes about how the farmers received being a part of this experience. But I want to ask you a more basic question. What does a farmer's market do for a community?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's where community happens. Community happens at the farmers market.
Tell us some more about that.
Well, and from my own, I'll tell you my experience is I go to the farmers market and I meet people there who are neighbors, they're friends, they're certainly people I've worked with on and off over 20 years, and I haven't seen them in years or months, but there they are at the market. And of course, how's your husband? How are your children? What are you doing? You know, what are you cooking this week?
Right.
Which is usually the discussion. Well, have you seen the celery over there? Man, I've never seen celery like that.
And now thousands of people are going to these markets.
Yeah, and I don't even know the numbers, but it's huge. It's huge.
So what is it that people generally either don't know about farmers markets or maybe have a misconception about them?
I think most people think a farmer's market opens at the end of May and it closes up maybe in October, November.
That's not true. That would be my assumption.
Well, you're wrong.
Okay. It's not the first time.
You're wrong. Because I personally eat out of the farmer's market every day of the year.
Wow.
Now, in the wintertime, I am eating a heartier, sturdier, greener, more colorful crop. Because guess what? That's what our bodies need.
Help out us neophytes with some of the names.
The food?
Yeah, the heartier, sturdier wintertime.
A celery, for example. You know, the celery that we get in most markets is really wimpy. It tends to be sort of a light green color, light.
It's a little bit limp too.
And there are no leaves on it. The celery at the farmer's market I go to is this high. Half of it is leaves, which are full of vitamin K. And until you tasted celery, which is as green as this page, I mean, it is green, and getting all that vitamin K, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Well,
kale, cabbage, what else is in? The root vegetables, rutabaga, turnips, parsnips, watermelon radish, and the potatoes. You find potatoes at a farmer's market that you don't find anywhere else.
You know, some of the vegetables you're mentioning are things that my grandmother cooked for me years ago, but you know, frankly, I haven't tasted them in 20, 30 years.
So I want to tell you something. You should have this book. It's called Food Rules. Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan says you should never eat anything your grandmother would not recognize as food.
You don't say. I think there are a lot of things that I have that my grandmother wouldn't recognize as food.
I'm sure, and it's all in the middle aisles of your grocery store.
Well, let's go a little bit further on that. Let me start over. What should people be eating that they're not?
Well, I referred to colors before. A rainbow of colors. A rainbow of colors.
Rainbow colors.
Rainbow, all the colors of the rainbows. Here's an example. This amazing mandarin, which is in season right now. These are from my garden. These are not big, oversized, prize-winning Meyer lemons, but wait until you taste them.
Okay.
Green, the kales, the really dark beets.
And these
Are mandarins.
are mandarins. I'm going to take a little bit of a host privilege and have a mandarin.
I hope you like it.
I'm sure I will.
We every morning, my husband goes out and picks a huge 5-gallon bucket of mandarins, and then they benefit from sitting a little while so that their flavors are allowed to develop, the complexity of them. But we are so blessed to have these mandarins.
May I offer you a segment, or is it a slice?
This is a segment. A slice is
I
something
got it right.
you use a knife to get.
Okay. Well, I guess that I am still coachable, though. Cheers.
Yes, cheers. And she, how do you like it?
Tell us.
See?
Oh my gosh,
I'll
that's
tell you
good.
what, look. So this is show and tell.
That's when you know it's good.
That's when you know it's good. And it's the same with peaches. When you take a bite of a peach and the juices drip down your fingers, you say, now that's a real peach.
That's a peach.
This is a real mandarin. When the juices come squirting out all over my finely pressed blouse.
Well, you still look perfect. Let's talk about these mandarins. One of the things that you helped start was a Mandarin Festival up in Placer. Tell us about the Mandarin Festival.
Well, years ago, many years ago, I was sitting at my desk in the old Newcastle Fruit Growers Association building in Newcastle, and I looked out onto this wonderful little town that at one point used to be so vibrant, and I thought, there's got to be something that we can do to introduce a fruit or a vegetable back into our everyday conversation that is meaningful to this place, Newcastle. And so after thinking about it for a while, we live at 900 feet in Newcastle is our elevation, and it's perfect weather for mandarins. I said, that's it. And our mandarins are unique. There is someone who writes for a major magazine in this country said, these are surely some of the finest tasting fruit in the world.
And aren't there some health-related properties to these mandarins?
A few years ago, I said, every time I eat mandarins, I feel better. I feel so much better.
Is there any science behind that?
Of course. So then I coordinated a study with the USDA, and we learned that in every Placer County mandarin is 6 to 7 times as much synephrine
What's that used for?
as in any other citrus. Synephrine is a decongestant.
Oh.
A decongestant is what you taste when you eat when you have a runny nose or a stuffy
And how
nose.
many people attend the Mandarin Festival each year?
Oh my gosh, it's up to thousands now. Thousands, 35, 40,000.
All right. We're going to take a moment right now.
Okay.
You're watching Studio Sacramento. We'll be back in a moment with Joanne Neft, and joining us will be Chef Laura Kinney.
When you support your PBS station, you're supporting possibilities. You're making sure there's a place for independent voices. You're opening children's minds. And you're giving everyone the chance to find inspiration from the arts. To discover more, be more. Support possibilities. Support your PBS station.
Thank you for staying tuned to Studio Sacramento. Let's get back to the conversation. Joining us to do that is Chef Laura Kinney. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
One thing I want the audience to notice is that what's missing at this moment. That basket of mandarins that was up here, during the break, the cast and crew got a bit jealous, and as you can see, all of my mandarins are now gone. And I would urge you all to go out and get some mandarins as well. Anyway, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what inspired this book?
Well, I had worked with Joanne before at a restaurant in Lincoln, and she had this idea introduced to her by a friend of hers, and so we wanted to illustrate what you can do with all of those unusual vegetables that are in season in the winter months, or the different varieties of summer vegetables that you're just unsure how to prepare. So that was the main focus, I think, in showing people how to eat healthy and eat local and eat in season, and what to do with those ingredients that they were unfamiliar with.
Okay, and you're from the area.
I am born and raised in Placer County. I was born in Auburn. My parents still live in Applegate. Okay. I went to San Francisco to study culinary arts, and then went to other cities and worked there before coming back to Placer County.
You went to the California Culinary Institute, which
the
is
Academy in San Francisco. Yes.
Yeah, that is a very prestigious institution.
It was a great place to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that most of the people who go to that school. I had a few that worked for me years ago. They never come back. You came back.
I
Why?
love this city. Don't get me wrong. I love this city. I love big cities. I love the different varieties of restaurants and foods and cultures and all of that. But I wanted to come back to Placer County. There's a smaller sense of community here. Obviously, my family is here, and that was a big draw. But I like being part of a community where I know who grew my food and I know where it's coming from. And when I go to the farmers market, I see familiar faces constantly. It's just that sense of community, I think, it had a big part in bringing me back.
Talking about earlier.
Yes.
And from a culinary perspective, how is Placer?
Are you kidding? Why not? Placer County has every possible culinary ingredient that I could desire. We have our beef and our chicken, and we have a fish purveyor at our market in Placer County who fishes at a Bodega Bay and comes back and sells fish the day after he catches it. I can talk to my farmer and have them grow new varieties of vegetables, or if I want
Really? You can actually ask a farmer to grow a specific type of vegetable for you?
Yes, absolutely, especially when we were working on the book. Is there any varieties that you would like us to grow? Is there anything specific you would like to see? And they're very open-minded and very friendly and willing to just introduce different people to what they know and what they appreciate as real good food.
Well, I'd like to ask you both, in making this wonderful book, I looked through it, and my wife and I have already been talking about what recipes we can get started with. What was your most memorable experience of preparing 52 weeks of meals for family and friends? Tell us a story.
It's a whirlwind, really. I mean, the whole year went by quickly, don't you think?
Yes.
It was, every Monday we were hosting 8 at least people at Joanne's house. It was a lot of work. I think about the recipes that didn't make the cut. I think about the flops,
So there was a disaster or two, and you two are not infallible. You're not perfect.
Oh, gosh, no.
You realize that something like this feels a little bit daunting to those of us who are mere mortals as cooks, right?
The thing about those recipes, though, is a lot of them I call ridiculously simple. They have good ingredients. You're starting with a good product. So for a lot of the vegetable recipes in there, we've added olive oil and salt and pepper. But we use a good local olive oil. We use a nice salt. We use fresh pepper, and we start with a good vegetable. So that right there makes the difference.
I want to ask you, when you talk about using good ingredients and the like, there's a comment you specifically make about buying more expensive food and eating less.
Yes.
That's something that I've never heard before. Can you quickly explain that to us?
Well, I think that people sometimes get turned off of farmers markets because they think it's going to be too expensive and they can't afford to eat there. But in reality, when you're buying good foods and maybe you are spending just a little bit more money on them, you don't need as much food to get full. You're having good, honest calories into your body. And like we always say, you are what you eat. If you're eating good, honest, real food, that's how you feel. It's when you're starting to substitute all these fillers and all these preservatives and all these additives into your body, it knows it's not full. It knows it's not getting real nutritional value. And so you're eating more to compensate for that. So I think that's where we come up with that statement.
Joanne, I want to know, what are you most proud of about this book?
It's making a difference in people's lives. It's absolutely making a difference in people's lives. We have had people stop us at the market and say, "You've changed our lifestyle."
Really?
I mean, and that I get a little teary-eyed even thinking about that, because it has, in some cases, it has been dramatic, totally dramatic. And that's what convinced us really that maybe we should do another book. And so we're working on another one, and it'll be ready probably sometime soon.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you, Laura, what do you think is driving all of this interest in this farm-to-table, more localized eating movement across, well, locally, obviously, but it seems like it's a bigger conversation across the country. What's going on?
It seems to be lately, yes. I think people are starting to recognize that what's in their food isn't exactly as pure and honest and natural as what we all would like it to be. And so people are starting to pay more attention to what they're putting into their bodies, which is a huge relief and a great thing to be realizing. People want to know where their food's coming from is the bottom line.
Right, and one thing that is spoken to in this book is, Joanne, a friend of yours asked if she could sort of shadow you at a farmer's market because she wanted to watch to see how to buy. I was struck by the fact that people actually need to learn how to buy.
Well, what most people don't know is that you can buy all of your food for an entire week or for 2 weeks at a farmer's market because it's so fresh, because it was just picked the day before, that it will last totally in your
And that's
freezer.
what you're teaching people. In our final moments, I wanted to ask you both one quick question, and you both get 15 seconds. Okay, I apologize, but we're coming to the end. What difference is buying local and fresh going to make in the lives of the people that are watching this program? Joanne, you're first.
They're going to be healthier. They will be healthier people from eating local food.
All right. Laura?
Healthier also, and then the people that are affected are the farmers that they're supporting. When you support local food, you're supporting local farmers.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. And I will let you know how it goes. The book is called Placer County Real Food. And that's our show. We would like to thank our guests, Joanne Neft and Laura Kinney, for talking with us today. There's lots of talk on television, but only a few places where you can be a part of the conversations that matter. I'm Scott Syfax, and you've been watching Studio Sacramento. Join us next time right here on KVIE.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.